Governor Mike Pence of Indiana is going to be the vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party, along with Donald Trump as the presidential candidate. Josh Israel wrote a great piece over at the Center for American Progress's blog, Think Progress, about Pence. He starts out, over his political career, Governor Mike Pence has consistently carried the tobacco industry's water, denying the dangers of cigarettes, opposing government regulation, and slashing smoking cessation efforts. In return, they rewarded him with more than $100,000 in campaign donations. Now, this is what I find so interesting. Here, you know, the tobacco industry makes billions every year selling a product that, when used as directed, causes death. It's the only product in the United States that, when used when used as directed, causes death. That's it. It's 5 times more addictive than heroin. It is insanely destructive. In fact, I think one of the reasons, you know, people, you know, one of the interesting phenomena of our time is that, you know, there's a lot of boomers who are in their 60s and 70s now and are behaving like they're in their 40s and 50s. And while our longevity figures are not substantially higher, they are some, you know, longevity for people in the top 10% of Americans are up 2 or 3 years right now over 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. But longevity for people in the bottom 90% is pretty much where it was. But the ability to function in those later years has improved substantially in the last couple of decades. And I think it's because the smoking rate has gone down so dramatically. But don't tell that to Mike Pence. In 2000, when he was running for an open seat in the U.S. House, he came out against the settlement between the U.S. government and the big tobacco. He called it big government. Josh Israel writes, in a shocking editorial, Mike Pence wrote, quote, "Time for a quick reality check. Despite the hysteria from the political class and the media, smoking doesn't kill." He warned of a slippery slope in which government would soon seek to discourage fatty foods, caffeine, and SUVs. Pence clarified in September his when he was running for office, his Democratic opponent pressed him on the suggestion that smoking doesn't cause cancer and noted that he's getting money from tobacco companies. Pence clarified that he wrote that there was no causal link medically identifying smoking as causing lung cancer. Now, this was in September of 2000. The U.S. Surgeon General documented the link between smoking and lung cancer in 1964. Pence was denying it in 2000. After the debate, the paper reported, Pence acknowledged that he had received an estimated $5,000 and $10,000 in contributions to tobacco companies. Actual total was already at least $13,000 in contributions from the political action committees for Brown and Williamson, Philip Morris, R.J. Reynolds, and U.S. Tobacco, according to political moneyline data reviewed by Think Progress. And this was only the beginning. Over his time in Congress, he'd received at least $39,000 from R.J. Reynolds, more than $60,000 from the National Association of Convenience Stores, which relies heavily on tobacco sales. In fact, indeed, Pence's now defunct family business, Keel Brothers Oils, operated a chain of more than 200 cigarette and gasoline convenience stores. The stores, which operated under the name Tobacco Road, closed in 2004. In 2009, Pence was one of just 97 people in the U.S. House of Representatives to vote against the Bipartisan Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act, which gave the FDA the power to regulate cigarettes. I mean, this is extremely, insanely toxic. There's a letter to Mike Pence from John H. Fish with the, this is from the R.J. Reynolds. Altria, Philip Morris, 3 years later, Altria, Philip Morris, Lorillard, and R.J. Reynolds American have combined to contribute at least $63,000. And then this letter says, "Dear Mr. Pence, the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company Political Action Committee has selected you as a recipient of a contribution of $1,000 to assist you in your 2000 general election campaign. R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company is the nation's second largest tobacco company and sells 4 of the top 10 U.S. cigarette brands. We appreciate your position on issues important to our company and look forward to working with you in the future." Pence, and now Indiana is suffering for this, by the way. In 2015, Pence signed a law making it easier to create cigar bars in the state, and his administration slashed the money from the tobacco tax and settlement money below CDC's recommended levels. The Indianapolis Business Journal wrote, funding for Indiana tobacco prevention and cessation was down to $8 million a year when Pence took office, and within his first week, they slashed the agency's budget to $5 million. Indiana now has the highest adult smoking rate of any state in the industrial Midwest region and the 7th highest smoking rate in the nation. Public health experts warn the state is in really bad shape. In fact, 17% of pregnant women in Indiana smoke, nearly double the national average. And as they noted, the state spends $28 million a year on health costs for infants born to mothers who smoke because they're lower birth weight and at risk for all kinds of diseases throughout their lives, frankly. So the shocking thing to me is that, you know, throughout his career, Pence has gotten $100,000 in the tobacco companies, and he's been their reliable, you know, bat boy throughout this whole thing. The tobacco companies make billions of dollars. They give Mike Pence $100,000, and he does their work for them. I keep saying, you know, the best investment in the United States right now is to buy a congressman. You got to have $100,000. Right, $100,000 will buy a hell of a lot from a member of the House of Representatives. You've got $100,000, you can get them to, you know, if you're Monsanto or the GMO industry and you want to blow away Vermont's law, no big deal. Actually, it took a couple $1 million, but you have to spread it around the Senate and the House. And you know, you get Ron Johnson and Debbie Stabenow hopping up and down on behalf of you, and it's, you know, and well, in this case, it's Mike Pence and tobacco. And it's not just tobacco. I mean, you know, Pence is, he refuses to say whether he believes in evolution. He has explicitly, he takes money from the private prison lobby, particularly the GEO group. And so as governor in 2013, he explicitly raised concern that low-level drug offenders were not facing sufficient punishment. So this year he signed a new mandatory minimum law for certain kinds of drug use and possession. I mean, you know, he's a shill. He's the perfect Republican to run for vice president.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.